Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Mindshifters Radio with your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife Jeanie. Michael and Jeanie share with you the wisdom of the ancient Aramaic internal process of forgiveness. They offer tools and support 5 days a week. They will support you in building a solid foundation within yourself to live in pure love. In Aramaic, Rachma. Michael is the author of So Why Is This Happening to Me Again? For more information on Michael and Jeanie, please visit www.whyagain.com. And now your co-host, the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael and Jeanie Ryce.
To the brightness within you, and the truth that is rooted within me.
Hi, and welcome to Mindshifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce. Our call-in number is 646-200-4169. Press 1, that puts you in queue to talk to Michael. Welcome, Michael.
Welcome, everybody, to the show. We're delighted that you're with us and delighted that we get the opportunity to be here to support you. We are in sunny, warm Tampa, Florida, enjoying heading into, actually, the third day of a series of free workshops here in Tampa. We'll be speaking here through Friday in those free workshops. If you're in the Tampa, Florida area, come and join us. We're at the Unity North Center in Tampa. And Saturday we'll be doing Mind Shifters and Still Point Breathing. All systems are moving forward. We've got a couple of intensives coming up, a series of workshops in Sarasota this weekend, so there's lots going on. Of course, summer season in Theodosia at Heartland for our residential intensives there. And, of course, our normal introduction is to invite you to be part of the team that changed the world. And how are we going to do that? Well, our commitment here is to move into the ancient Aramaic process of forgiveness, and we're inviting everyone who listens to the show on a daily basis to really, truly be willing to enter into the Aramaic process of forgiveness in any situation where you have any sort of hostility or fear, and you're pointing a finger at somebody else. Recognizing that hostility or fear is a warning signal within your own system. It's a product of what's happening inside of you. Blaming someone else does nothing to resolve it. Letting somebody else off the hook, which is called in this culture forgiveness, will do nothing to change that hostility or fear-based content. And our offering is that the reason for war is the separation created by hostility and fear, and thinking that by getting rid of somebody else we can change what's happening inside of ourselves, and or that we can gain something by doing that. So we're here to invite you to engage in the process of forgiveness. If you're not sure how that process works, we have a full complement of tools to support you, and of course we're here 5 days a week to answer your questions and keep you on track with the forgiveness process. If you go to our website, whyagain.com, it's whyagain.com. On the right-hand side, you'll see a link that says Download Worksheets. That link will give you 7 different links. And, well, actually, there are dozens of different links there, but the first 7 are specifically on the Aramaic process of forgiveness. So we invite you to tap into those links, listen to the radio shows where we've guided someone through the worksheet process, and know that we are absolutely here to support you. Jeanie, do we have any callers? Anything happening in the website or in the chat room?
There's nothing going on in the chat room right now, and on the switchboard we do have one caller. Area code 765, you're on the air.
Hi, Michael, it's Kevin.
Well, welcome to the show, Kevin.
Oh, I'm glad I can be here.
Anna?
Well, studying for my entrance exam. And listening to the dogs bark. Studying for my insurance exam, which I'm going to start a new job here next week. So I'm going to help people that way.
So what's happening in your world?
Well, Nathan is becoming a phenomenon.
Maybe we need to explain who Nathan is and what his history is so that we can understand. And we talked about this last night, and you're going to share it on the show. Maybe you can just say a little bit about Nathan's history, his history with you as his family, and where he is and what has happened and what the change is, what's the phenomenon about.
I would be happy to share that. Well, Nathan, when I had met Nathan's mom, Mindy, not 6 months before her first husband passed away. Well, of course, at his age, that's a very disruptive influence, and he took a wrong turn. Well, can't say it's a wrong turn. He took an unproductive turn in life. And this continued for a good 10 years, which eventually resulted in him being in the wrong place, wrong time, wrong people, and he is now in prison. Soon to be out. We expect him to be out by about May or June, because he's been doing well. But once I stepped into the scene, he was very resistive because he thought I was trying to replace his dad, which I felt that way with my own stepfather. So I knew that was there, so I didn't really worry about that. But he wouldn't listen, didn't want to apply, did all his somewhat self-destructive, unproductive actions. So now he's here. Once he started to be pulled away from the influences which were dragging him down, it gave him time for introspection. And he started to realize some of the things that he had done were not productive, and he actually did want to change. It took a few months after he started getting incarcerated to realize that. But eventually he came to me and says, I understand somewhat where I was headed. Will you help me? Which I was more than happy to do. We've gotten him materials such as Why Again? That book, he doesn't even have that book anymore. It's somewhere in the system at the facility he's at. It just keeps going around. So Why Again works because more and more people want to read it. So I'll plug the book there because I'll raise hands high on that one, myself included.
Well, Kevin, we talked about, just let me interrupt for a second, we talked about several names of people at the in the prison that were interested in the book, and if I were to get those names and numbers and addresses, I'd be happy to send more books into the prison. That would be awesome.
Well, it gets better. That's where we're going to head. He has moved along in the last almost 2 years, and he's now a mentor to other men. He is in a substance abuse environment where he is helping teach anger management classes, something called Houses of Healing, which is an in-prison course. He and 2 other men have come up with an idea to help more people realize how to make different choices, and it is getting supported by the one head person in charge of these programs within the prison. They are going to, within the next 30 or 60 days, take these 3 gentlemen, put them in a new dormitory, bring some of the substance abuse people in, and then bring in people who've never gone through this, and they're going to start teaching this. It's going to be called sober living. So it covers the wide range of effects. The person that is allowing them to do this likes their idea so much that if it works here, they're going to push for a statewide implementation of this program. So that gives us the ability to get people like you involved, getting materials, getting videos, so a wider number of people can be helped by forgiveness and not blaming. So I am just awestruck. I cannot and I do not say this is unbelievable because it's very believable. I've been watching it. He wants to do this, and you can tell by looking him in the eyes, this is not the person that got locked up 2 years ago. This is an entirely different human, and it's wonderful. And I rejoice in his success.
That's awesome. And of course, when you look in his eyes, what you're seeing is the presence of a human life instead of the presence of an hostility or fear-based non-being. And that transformation is so awesome, and that he just took it in hand on his own, went from that state of resistance into ownership of what was going on inside of him. I know that you shared with me over the last 2 years how he's taken the book and read it, shared the tool with somebody else, shared it with somebody else, shared it with somebody else, and it's just moving throughout the prison, and that's just so awesome to hear that that's occurring.
Well, and for my growth, because both sides in that equation, it's enabling me, in spite of all the issues, to forgive those within him and myself, where I can feel a little bit of what unconditional love is, regardless of what he is and what he's done. He's made these choices, but he is becoming his own entity, and I can love the enjoyment of watching that, and I am not feel uncomfortable or resistant to telling him that I love him as my son. I don't even put in the stepson anymore. He is my son. And he has told me on more than one occasion that makes him want to do things, because he realizes I don't classify him differently as if he were not mine or mine. He is mine. And so somewhere there are a lot of chains that have been broken in ancestral stuff on his part and my part, and we're both catching that and enjoying that feeling.
I acknowledge you both for the work that you've been doing, and his mom has just got to be feeling such a relief, because so many of those kids that go into that prison are just going into an educational system that educates them right down the pike of becoming deeper and deeper involved in that whole criminal world, and the recidivism rates are so insane. And I know that when we took this program into the prisons in Albany, Georgia, that we cut recidivism 95%, and finally the sheriff got rid of the program because his jails were empty. And when you look at it, if you empty the jails, where do the people who are making their salaries get their money from? And sadly, prisons are a growth industry, much like the military is a growth industry. And we've got to put an end to that on both fronts, because, of course, if somebody's in the military mindset, they have to find wars to fight. Otherwise, what use are they? Let's take those young men and those young women that are in our military, and let's put them to work in serving and supporting our culture and enhancing the lives of our population. Let's take those people that are in prison and let's share with them the tools that empower them to live a human life, and let's empty the jails. Let's turn the jails into, I don't care, apartments, free apartments for people, whatever. It'd be a lot cheaper than this insanity that earns billions of dollars for investors. There was a sad commentary in a newsletter that came out from an investment house. Oh, this is probably a year and a half ago now. And the prison population numbers reported by the federal government dropped. And this investment advisory newsletter reported that was bad news for investors. This kind of insanity tells anybody that the fact that the prison population has dropped, that suffering is being reduced, is bad news for investors.
Exactly.
It's like you have to rethink the whole game and wake up and start to live human lives. And I'm so delighted that you've taken this to your son, and all the conversations that we've had over the years with this are bearing fruit, and that he's moving into this posture where, I think it would be awesome if he were the person who were to take laws of living back into the prison system on a wider and wider basis.
Well, and we're going to do so in part because of what I have done with your work, what he has done, but because of his desire, and it shows. You can hear it, you can see it. He's inspired me to develop, which I would have eventually head in that direction, but he's inspired me to develop a program by which you can help somebody with a great many tools, focusing from, as what you say, memory. Not from how do you think and how do you remember, but how is locked memory, cellular memory, ancestral memory, how is that affecting your behaviors? Once you unlock that memory and forgive it, you no longer have that behavior, so all of a sudden you have an entirely different life to live. And I am very fired up on that, and I've got something that I'm developing, and eventually when I get it refined, which is another month or two, you're going to get a copy, because I would like your inputs, because you would find it humorous and useful.
Kevin,
Awesome.
what was the name of the program? What was the name of the program that you said he was developing? Did you say Silver Living?
Sober Living.
Awesome.
Basically what happened is you have one program, which a lot of states don't use anymore, I guess it's called the Plus program. And then they had the substance abuse. Well, there started to be political infighting, so the man in charge at the prison said, we're no longer going to do substance abuse. These gentlemen have a better way of thinking about it. They're the ones who are living it, and they're going to work on a preventative basis, not a you're a bad person because you did this, and this is how you shouldn't do this. They're actually wanting to develop a program to teach you skills to avoid, to forgive, and to live an entirely different life by understanding the difference between choices and decisions. And he's coming by a lot of this naturally. So he knows what's there. He's listening to his higher self, if you will, and allowing it to come out. And he's got people twice his age coming to him going, how did you figure this out so early? And how do I do it? So he's already being seen as a resource amongst his peers. And he's just allowing himself to be, which is giving me an inspiration, because I'm not always what I should be. And so I've told him, I said, you're half my age, and yet I get to see you as an example, so understand I am using you as an example for my own life, which really made him feel good the day I told him that. Because that means even a young person can teach an old dog like me new tricks.
Very cool. Well, congratulations, Dad. You're the kind of dad that changes the world, and you absolutely have our support, and as does Nathan have. And tell Mom we send hello, we send our love and our blessings and our congratulations.
Yep, she's in working, so I'll tell her that. One thing that she and I both were pondering, and maybe it's possible, maybe it's not, but by the time he gets out, maybe you'll be close and you can come and visit and see and compare notes, because I think he would really get a big charge out of meeting his inspiration point and understanding why you have done all this work, because he now buys into it as well and understands it.
Very cool. Well, that's just awesome. You know, yesterday we got a call from a medical doctor on the show out in Las Vegas, Nevada, Dr. Andraki, and he's working within his medical clinic developing programs based on this tool to work with people who have substance abuse problems. And he's finding to be the only thing that's successful, that's actually getting people off of drugs in a permanent way. And, of course, the whole reason for substance abuse is that people are, not the whole reason, actually, it's a two-pronged thing, but one of the primary reasons is because people are anesthetizing their pain, and they don't have the tools to get rid of their pain because the tool has been disappeared from the planet. And, you know, in 2,000 years, nobody told anybody that forgiveness is a tool for removing content from your mind that's painful. Until we started to understand from the Aramaic what Yeshua was saying 2,000 years ago, that hasn't been understood. It's been taught as, you know, letting somebody else off the hook because there's pain inside of you rather than directly going in, addressing and removing the pain. So anyone who's listening, I hope that you're inspired by hearing Kevin speaking about what's happened with his son and the changes that take place, and that anyone can pick up the tool and take it to others and do it. We are here to support every mind, heart, and being on the planet doing this work and taking it to every other mind, heart, and being on the planet. We're not going to get to 7.5 billion minds alone. It takes a whole team, and this is the team that changed the world that's building out of this work at this moment. So that's absolutely awesome, Kevin. I'm just so delighted to hear it.
Thank you. So I will back out now. We need to hear from some other people and see what they say. But I knew you would find that to be most inspiring and joyful, because it is definitely bringing that up in me, and that's making my stress points a lot less. So it all works for better purpose. So I'm going to back out now. You have a good day, Mike. I'm going to listen now.
Oh, blessings. Thanks for the call, Kevin. What a gift. What a gift when a young man who's in that kind of hostility and pain mode to the point where gets involved in drugs and ends up in prison, says, I'm going to turn it around, and starts to work with the worksheet process, starts to teach it to other prisoners, has a study group in the jail for people to learn forgiveness. What an awesome, awesome way to go. Jeanie, any other callers? Anything happening in the chat room?
No. Dr. Tim is on with us. Nobody has their hand up right now.
And how is Dr. Tim today? And do you have any thoughts for Kevin, Tim?
Well, just the congratulations, and I tell him to keep up the great work. There's clearly a time there I didn't want to interrupt where he needed to take some deep breaths as the emotion was strong. And it's the kind of thing that can resonate strong emotions for any of us that have had children that have made choices that we wouldn't have wanted to make. And I just want to encourage anybody who has children who are making decisions that you disagree with to watch what that stirs up in you and apply the tools. Breathe, do worksheets, do the EFT tapping, whatever it takes to get rid of the anger, fear, and resentment within you, and just watch from a place of love what unfolds in your children's lives. And these are your children, whether they're adult or near adult. And I see it so often. I've seen it in my own family. I've seen it in so many people I've worked with over the years, that if we can get people to get out of the hostility and fear that gets stirred up in them when things go away that they hadn't planned, that the energy that they add to the situation is transformative. And it doesn't necessarily get transformed the way I want it to, but it is transformative, and fabulous results take place when we stay in the space of love or keep our awareness focused on our source's love. As you'd like to talk about, Michael, keeping the love conscious, active, and present. And so I just want to congratulate him and tell him I was just here listening and breathing as I heard him get emotional, and look forward to hearing updates about how it's progressing.
Yeah, it definitely touches some deep places, and we're here to touch those deep places in everyone and support the moving of the tools forward. You know, we heard from Carrie yesterday, and Carrie's out in Chicago. She is someone that I've known for about 25 years, and when she touched back into this work with some truths and traumas, could anybody who's out there put your mute button on? There's a lot of noise coming through. So Carrie just informed me that in a text that she's starting a support group out in Colorado, beginning to work with the tools directly with people. She just started doing worksheets maybe 3 months ago, and it's just awesome to watch what happens as people take a hold of these tools and then extend them to their larger families and their larger communities. You know, whether it's a case like Nathan, who's doing it within jail with people that, you know, he becomes acquainted with through the jail system, whether it's someone like Kevin who took it to his family and shared it with them. It's just awesome to see how the changes take place. Dr. Andraki taking it to his patients in the clinical setting. To just watch how it's moving around is just phenomenal. Getting ready for critical mass. So if you were sitting with me, yes, you who's listening on the phone right now, and you were contemplating your process and what's going on in your world, what would your question be for me? What would your question be for Jeanie? What would your question be for Dr. Tim? We would love for you to pick up the phone or push 1 if you're already on the phone and ask that question. Or if you're in the chat room, write your question. Jeanie will read it to us. We're here to support you with moving into live process and moving through to this space of understanding of just exactly how the tools work and exactly what it takes to bring forward this awesome human life that we have. Our definition of a human life is hold a newborn child. You know exactly what a human life is. And we're here to support human life expressing in every mind, heart, and being on planet Earth. So, Jean, do we have any callers?
Area code 517, you're on the air.
Hi, Michael and Jeanie. It's Mitzi.
Hi, Mitzi.
Hey, young lady.
Hi. Sure do appreciate the support of the radio show. Been listening in, but I listen from work. So if the phone I'm on rings, I'm going to put it on hold briefly. But I'll get to my question, and it's for you, Jeanie. I was intrigued by the concept of writing worksheets for emotions or feelings that were positive, opposed to, unhappy feelings. So I did some yesterday. It was a little bit odd to write a forgiveness worksheet on feeling grateful, but I did it anyway, and I would just like to know more about your thoughts about that.
Well, anything that we think is outside of us causing something inside of us, it's an object for a worksheet or a topic for a worksheet. Just like most of our worksheets are on someone, bringing out their anger or irritation or frustration or our sadness.
Right.
But if we also think, oh, you make me so happy, or you make me, I'm so pleased when I'm with you, or whatever, anything that we think outside of us creates a feeling inside of us, even if it's a good feeling,
right,
then we are codependent with that. And, if it's like, for instance, oh, Michael, you make me so happy, then the first time he does something that is opposite of that, then where does my happiness go? And so it's bringing it back that we have to own our own feelings, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent, that they're ours. Otherwise, we're attaching the power for that emotion or that feeling to whoever or whatever outside of us.
Perfect.
And so we need to get rid of that as well. And it is a little awkward doing it on that.
The first few were it was awkward, but then when I got down to the goal, I realized I still had a goal. So it was like, okay, well, there's still a goal, so there's reason to cancel it. It
takes it to, when we're doing worksheets on negative things and we're like, okay, I want that person to just treat me lovingly, and it's hard enough there to say, okay, I've got to let go of that goal. But then when you are doing something good, it's like double dipping into this is a challenge, letting this one go. But,
right.
Good job, Mitzi.
Well, thank you, Jeanie. I appreciate it. And thank you both for the service you provide.
Awesome. Thank you.
You betcha.
And we do have another caller, area code 541. You're on the air. Who do we have?
Tell you what, before we go to 541, if you could just hold for 1 second, I'd like to add a thought or two to the conversation about doing worksheets on positive things. And that is that if you're experiencing the output of your mind as life, everything that is output from the mind, by definition, is obviously already in the mind. Therefore, it's from the past. Those in the ancient teachings that lived in the past were called the dead, buried by the dead, and the blind led by the blind. So if one had a wonderful experience 20 years ago, oftentimes people will, their whole goal is, well, let's see if I can get back and have that experience again. And the goal of this work is not to get your mind to produce only wonderful experiences, because every wonderful experience produced by your mind comes from the past, but rather to really, truly be alive now in the present, experiencing directly what human life is giving you is the idea of the work. And to collapse the mind, you get a sense of this whole idea if you watch the movie Being There. If you haven't seen that, take a look at the movie Being There, and it'll kind of cue you into what we're talking about here. So area code 541, you're on the air. Say hello.
Hello, it's Julie. Hi.
Hey, young lady.
That was very interesting. I have a question that sort of pertains to something that my mind has tried to understand and believe that I'm probably totally misinterpreting from the Course in Miracles kind of thing. And here it is. I wrote this down, so I'll just read what I wrote, and then I can not be so unclear. How does it work, or does it work, or can we, as we do our own work on ourselves, be actually helpful or some sort of parallel conduit for another's work and their actual physical healing? And then I reiterated, I keep believing I'm responsible and therefore irresponsible and guilty for not doing my part in the healing of another, others, and the world. So
my first input would be that you take responsibility for your guilt and your self-blame, and you forgive that for starters. Let go of that you could possibly be, or that you are responsible for someone else's disease processes or for the healing of those disease processes. And the greatest contribution that you can make to another is to heal yourself. And absolutely, we can be of support. If I'm in the middle of a situation where I cannot hold active love, and Jeanie can hold that space for me, as a result of her presencing love, I'm going to get to heal. Remember that quote we've shared several times from Rumi, in the presence of love, all pain becomes medicine. So if I'm so stuck in my pain that I can't turn that pain into a medicine, the active presence of someone else's love can become my healer.
Okay.
And so, but I can't support somebody else's process if I'm in guilt and fear and pain about their process, what appears to be their process, because what I'm in guilt and fear and pain about is my own process, and now I'm not fit to support that person because I'm in my own trauma, and I'll simply reinforce their trauma. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Thank you. I needed to hear that. Thank you. Keep myself fit. That's right. That's what Jesus taught. If we all do that, there's no real disease that exists anywhere, really. but to be that presence for another when they maybe are feeling weaker requires me maintaining it within myself, not about fixing them or guiding them or teaching them or blah, 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 any of that. Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely. So how did your 2 worksheets go yesterday?
I didn't. I had a down day. I could have maybe, but I didn't.
Well, my input would be that your down days are the days to really be most committed to your work.
Mm-hmm.
They're the days when you can process out the down parts of your mind. So my invitation would be that you get to the point where you actually make a commitment to yourself. That means something that you will actually keep. And that'd be my support for you.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thank you for the call.
Okay. Thanks, Michael.
All right. Listen, take care. I have a little thing I'd like to read that I received in an email. It's called Pushing into Greatness. And it kind of fits with our whole conversation. Have you heard the story about the man who prays to God, asking him for a way to grow closer, and his prayer is answered when God tells him, see that big boulder down there? Push it. Naturally, the man runs to the boulder, and with all his might, he begins to push and push and push. But the boulder doesn't budge one bit. Days go by, nothing. The man is fanatical and refuses to surrender to frustration and fatigue. Weeks go by, months go by, years go by. Still, the rock remains right where he found it. After 10 years of working with all his weight, he screams to God, I've been pushing this boulder for 10 years. I cannot move it. Why would you give me a job of pushing something I can't move? God replies, I didn't say move it. I said push it. Moving it is my job. But look at yourself now. Look at how beautiful your form has become. Look how strong you are today as a result of all your work. You were weak when you came before me 10 years ago. Look at what you become through the work of pushing this boulder. jealousy, anger, fear, doubt. These forces are our boulder. Love, happiness, courage, certainty. These powers are the rewards of resisting our inclination to free fall into them. Pushing back is what shapes us into something great. So we invite each of you to have the courage to take on your work, to be committed to your work. And as you're committed to your work now, I happen to have been very fortunate. I kind of picked a path of forced growth. You know, when I don't feel like it, Julie, when you talk about you had one of those down days, when I don't feel like it, I happen to be committed to be scheduled to teach. I don't have a choice. I've got to get up and teach it. And I have this wonderful gift of when I get up and teach it, I get to hear it again. And I get to hear it again, and I get to hear it again, and I get to hear it again. Certainly far more difficult to stick to it if you don't keep having to say it over and over and over again. So I support you if you have trouble disciplining yourself to do the worksheets and such, to put yourself in a posture where you have to engage the work. Find somebody to teach it to. I don't care if it's one person or two persons or 10 persons, or you take him to the prison, or you take him to the kindergarten, or you take him to the old folks' home. Make the space in your life to engage in this work, and as you do, you'll learn it. I love what Richard Bach says in his book, Illusions. We teach best that which we most need to learn. And so, everybody, you know exactly what it is I need to learn. Here I am, still learning about forgiveness after a quarter of a century. And it's such an awesome gift to be engaged in it, and to continue in the process is a fabulous gift to give yourself. So if you want to do some forced growth, commit yourself, put yourself in a position where you have to present it to someone else. Start a support group once a week, and as you do that support group, and as you engage, I'm sure Dr. Tim will echo the thought. He's echoed it with me before, but Dr. Tim, what kind of benefit have you found when you put yourself in the position of forcing yourself to engage in the tools by running a support group?
Well, exactly what you're talking about. I have people regularly who ask me, why would you do that? Why would you donate one night a week, prime evening hours, when you could be charging people for therapy for 3 or 4 hours? And I tell them, for reasons that it's almost impossible to put into words, but the benefit to me from being engaged in this work, from reminding myself the truth of my nature and what it is that I do to create the disruptions in my life, and to be forced to engage the work regularly. You talked last week a little bit about the need to be a hypocrite in this work, because I have to talk about things and the need to do things that I haven't even mastered yet myself. And those things keep changing if I'm doing my work. I'm not stuck at the same point I was 7 years ago. I'm far better at it, but there are new horizons and new ways to improve how I respond to people and how often I can keep my conscious awareness focused on love in the face of what used to be really irritating triggers or really overwhelming fears. And I get that because every week I show up on Tuesday night ready to do worksheets, ready to teach worksheets to others, ready to watch another repetition of one of your lectures, or as I'm going to do tonight, introduce the same kind of material from a different perspective. One of your lectures, your 4-hour audio, which was a monumental work on Why Is This Happening to Me Again, you highlight the idea of the importance of learning a difficult new material from a variety of different perspectives. So from the scientific perspective, the theological perspective, the psychological perspective, all of these things, talking about the same kind of phenomenon, give my brain a way to open up and soften the soil of my mind so that the seeds sink in deeper and take deeper root. And so just as the email that you just read presents a critical set of material right out of, it's a piece of wisdom that you draw on in your own work, but is presented differently. Perhaps tomorrow, if I remember to bring in the Anthony DeMello book, I'll ask for the opportunity to read a short section of one of his I was reading last night, and I was just laughing out loud at how much it directly parallels your work and the work of Guy Finley, and it's beautifully written to my ear, and by sharing this stuff over and over again and getting it from different perspectives, I get to realize it at different levels in my life, and my life is better, happier, brighter, more productive because of it, healthier too.
It's interesting how quickly we can forget, and I'm saying that from my own perspective, how when I'm not engaging the work continuously, my mind can trail off to its old genetic predispositions to insanity. And it was kind of interesting. A couple of weeks ago, we were in Sarasota, Florida, and there was a young woman at the workshop series that had done an intensive about 3 years ago. I mean, she sat in the Why Is This Happening to Me Again workshop. She just kind of sat there stunned and shook her head. And she said, I came and did a 9-day intensive 3 years ago, and I realized that the last 2 years I've been living my life like these tools didn't even exist. I totally forgot about them. And she said, I realized that I need to engage and do more work. I'm ready for another intensive. And about 2 weeks later, when we scheduled our second intensive here in Florida, I contacted her, and it was difficult to even get her to respond to me. It's how quickly we can forget what it is that we need to be doing to reclaim our human lives. It's amazing. And when you recognize the game is that of dismantling the hostility and fear-based mind, the ancient hatreds, the ancient fears that have gone on for 1,000 generations, you get some sense of how they rear up and how they take over, and they can take us back into feeling like, playing out of the good old family feeling is perfectly appropriate and reasonable and perfectly all right, no matter how much rage or fear or criticism or condemnation, no matter how deeply we have to give up our human lives to do it. It seems like the reasonable alternative. And that's one of the reasons to continuously engage yourself in the work, because this giant multi-generational database can suck us right back into the good old family feeling and have us thinking that, looking at our partner with disdain, with hostility, with resentment, well, that's just natural. That's just the way it's supposed to be. Like the fellow you were talking about in the support group the other night. Brothers fight. We rage at each other and we don't talk to each other. That's just natural, isn't it? It's like, folks, none of that is natural. Hostility and fear destroys human life. It's not natural. However, it's been going on for so long. And even, the subtle little irritations that we can get into, and we give up our human lives for those. And we take the person, we say, I cherish you. You are the most important thing in my life. And then 2 minutes later, when that hostility and fear-based mind comes up, that can be totally and completely forgotten and right back to the good old family feeling. And that's what's been patterned, and that's what's destroyed human life on planet Earth for so long, and why we're so committed to bringing back the tools for the restoration of human life. And, of course, the only thing you need to overcome is your own good old family feeling that says, no, we're supposed to be in hostility. No, this is natural. So it is a pretty monumental piece of work to do, to change the direction of that multi-generational database. And that's what we're here to support you in doing. And if you have a question for us, we would love to hear your sweet voice. Our number is 200-4169. Give us a call.
We have 2 callers on the air. 517.
Awesome.
Hello there.
Welcome. Hey, Rex.
Hi, Michael. Hi, everyone. I wanted to comment on what you are talking about relative to commitment. It's huge, and to support Julie and all of us that have that trouble, because we all have a challenge when it's up. And what it is our fear of commitment. And I found that if a person just addresses that directly, and rather than doing, I had a conversation with a client today, doing a worksheet on actually just the fear of commitment, because it runs through all sorts of areas. And the very reason I believe that we have difficulty following through on our commitments is because if we follow through on our commitments, the energy that's underneath the thought about following through on our commitments and the pain that's residing underneath it will surface. And that's what we're really trying to hide. And so I wanted to comment on that, and also the part about having, and Dr. Tim said, forced to do his work. It's really a lot of truth in that. I find that when I'm doing my best, now it's not when it's the easiest, that's not what I'm saying, but when I'm doing my best, meaning I'm able to get through the stuff that's coming up in me, is when I'm the busiest with clients, when I have a lot of calls coming in, when I have support groups I'm working, when I'm doing workshops. That's when I find that I'm most connected to my source. And what it is, it's just that I recognize that it's a commitment, but it's actually just, I can't do support and be conscious with others unless I'm doing my own inner work. And it's just a given, so then I just do my own inner work. So I keep scheduling more so that I stay busy doing my work, not busy being unconscious like a lot of people do. And I could do that too, but I wanted to reiterate that as well, how important and valuable that is for those of us that are blessed with the ability to do this work full time. And, it's so exciting to me to wake up in the morning and look at my schedule and realize that I'm going to be discussing spiritual principles and talking about the wholeness and divinity all day long. And I can listen to programs like this, and I can, utilize the tools whenever something comes up. It's just right in the forefront of my mind. So I just really appreciate that, and I just wanted to reiterate that as well. And lastly, I wanted to wish Mitzi and Jeanie and Renee and James McFarland, Renee Savinsky, and Kim Simmons, and they're all having birthdays right now. So Mitzi and Journey's birthday is on the 20th. Journey was born on her birthday, and she is celebrating her birthday today. I think she's almost 29, so Journey's 24, so he's catching up. But I just wanted to comment on that, and God bless you, honey. I love you with my whole heart and being. There you go. Happy birthday, Mitzi. So that was it, Michael. I'm willing to hear anything you got, or any feedback you got, or anything you want to share, or anyone else for that matter, but those are the things I wanted to share. Thank you for giving me the voice to do so, and the space to do so.
Happy Eternal Day, Ms. Holder Space, for awesome you, the best one yet of your eternal life, and also for Journey. That's pretty cool that they were born on the same day. And I'm in full agreement with you as you choose to engage those principles. You get to, as Bach says, we teach what we need to learn, and we are learning it. And, there's that old scriptural saying that many are called but few are frozen. It's many are called but few are chosen. Really, everybody's called. I put out the call right now to everybody that's listening to the show and everybody on the planet to take this work and teach it. Now, will you choose? Now, whether you teach it by simply doing your work and living it, or whether you assemble groups of people, or you find just one child to teach it to, find a child, dedicate some of your time, intelligence, money, and energy to teaching forgiveness to a child. You will be planting seeds for the future that will touch millions yet unborn. And so we invite you to make that choice. And you don't have to be an expert. You don't even have to know anything about this work to teach it. Well, Michael, how could that possibly work? Well, Jeanie has set up a whole set of materials on the website for support groups. And the support groups start working with DVDs of the workshops and doing worksheets together. And as you engage in that, you will become more and more expert at learning and teaching forgiveness. So pick it up, start a support group, whether it's one person, 2, 10, or 100, doesn't matter. I know that I've had times, actually years ago in Atlanta, I used to do a 23-hour weekend lecture, and there are times when I did that 23 hours for 2 people. I'll hear people say, well, I only have 1 or 2 people in my support group. Well, hey, if you're the only one, then one of the most important people that could be there is there. Go ahead and teach it. And as you do, as you engage it, you will learn it. And as you make that commitment, put yourself in a corner, paint yourself into a box. I made a commitment to teach it, so now I have to do it. Well, but what if I'm not a teacher? It doesn't matter whether you're not a teacher. You can facilitate. You can support people in forgiveness. You start putting those videos out and showing them to people and answering questions you can't answer. You pick up the phone and call a radio show, ask the question. We'll support you with that answer, and take it back to your support group, and you will learn how to teach forgiveness. And so that's what we're here to do. So, Jeanie, you've got another caller?
We do, and it's area code 954. You're on the air.
Hello, my heart family. This is Nene.
Hi, Nene. How are you?
Great, thank you. Very, very good. And first, wanted to let you know, everybody, we're going to have a support group in Spanish this coming Thursday, and it's in Coral Springs here in Florida. And we're going to meet this coming Thursday and hopefully every other Thursday.
And where will the support group be today? What time?
It's going to be in 10966 Northwest 8th Court, and the zip code is 33071.
Is this a private home or?
It's a private home, yeah.
Okay.
But
awesome.
You know, whoever
we have that address on our website.
Well, I'll email it to you, and you can have that.
Okay. Well, email it. We'll get it on the website. So anybody that wants to follow up. Repeat the address again in Coral Springs.
Yes, is 10966 Northwest 8th Court, and the zip code is 33071.
So that's 8th Court in Coral Springs.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
yes.
That's cool. In Spanish, anyone who speaks Spanish, it's in the Fort Lauderdale, Coral Springs, Boca, Pompano area. Come and join the Nene's support group in Spanish tonight.
Yep. Thursday night.
Or Thursday, pardon me. Okay.
Thursday,
and every other Thursday is the plan, or the first and third Thursdays. How's that going to go?
Yeah, it's going to be every other Thursday. But I'll keep posting, and I'll keep calling and updating the information if necessary. I wanted to say that this past weekend, with all the extraordinary breathing we did, it was really awesome. And I had to breathe on Sunday because so many things came out for me to process while I was doing, facilitating and assisting you and Jeanie. And it was great, and I had to continue. I think I've been processing sadness and loneliness for a while. But even Monday morning, I still had some dreams, and I knew it was about letting go that energy. So I think it was very, very powerful. And also, I was watching PBS, and as the food and everything, it's support. Everything you engage in, since it's all energy, supports you or destroys you, right? So this is this doctor called Joel Fuhrman, and he talks about the importance of engaging in the right food. and it's a magnificent program. And I remember it says that the body itself, so-called body, is constantly healing and is constantly looking for its highest and best, constantly. But we prevent that engaging in the wrong energies. So I thought this thought combines with what we've learned with your work, Michael.
Awesome. Yeah, fits perfectly. I know Joel from years ago. We've been on platforms in New York together before.
Uh-huh.
He's doing some awesome work.
Yeah, so those words really connected with me. And
Very cool.
I have a question if we have time, because I know when we are in a moment when our hostility and fear is triggered. I know one of your DVDs, it says that we already have the brain cells for the other person to have the behavior or that behavior to happen. So if you could, so now I see two things. I see a brain cell for the behavior that you attract, and then I see another set of energies that are associated with that behavior. So I'm a little bit confused. Lost you?
Michael, if you're on there, we can't hear you.
Oh, excuse me. I had my mute button pushed.
Oh,
so I was saying that we're down to just a minute or so, and perhaps you could think about that question. And I didn't quite grasp exactly what you were asking, so maybe you could reorganize that question a little bit and call back first thing tomorrow, and we'll start the show off with the poem.
Okay, we'll do that because it's very. I think it's we'll go through that. We don't understand why this behavior, but also there's a behavior that recurs and also an energy that recurs. So, I'll do that tomorrow.
Awesome, fabulous.
Okay.
All right. Well, everybody that's with us, we appreciate you spending the time with us. We're honored that you take your valuable time out of your awesome life to share this space with us. We're delighted to be here to support you. If you're in Tampa, we'll be at Unity North in Tampa at 7 o'clock tonight. And tonight we're doing the workshop, Healing Through Relationships. I believe that's what it is tonight. And then tomorrow night we're doing a lesson from the Course in Miracles. Thursday night will be Codependence to Interdependence. And Friday night will be Naturopathic Keys to Health. And then all day Saturday, Mind Shifters and Still Point Breathings. We appreciate you being with us. Come and join us for that. We have one space for one male in our second intensive. Our 9-day Why Is This Happening to Me Again will be April the 14th to the 22nd. So we have one space with the way our room arrangements are for one male. If anybody wants to come and join us for that intensive, we'll be in residence here in Palm Coast, Florida, just south of St. Augustine. It should be absolutely awesomely beautiful weather, and that'll happen from the 14th to the 22nd. Next weekend we'll be in Sarasota doing a 3-day, perhaps 4-day mini intensive. It won't actually be residential, but we'll be covering several workshops, so come and join us for that. And create the best year yet of your eternal life. Bring a stranger to the show tomorrow. Blessings. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Mind Shifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce, and his wife Jeanie, who present the internal Aramaic process of forgiveness. Michael and Jeanie are here every Monday through Friday on Earth Angels Radio. For more on Michael and Jeanie, please visit www.whyagain.com. That's www.whyagain.com.